Hi folks, this is Richard Hall here from Stonehenge Aotearoa, and we're going to be looking at the night sky. Now what I'm going to get up first of all is bring up our laptop.
On. Can you see on the top?
There we are. Yeah, okay. So anyway, going to be looking, as I say, looking at the night sky today. Right. So, and I'll, hang on, sorry folks, I'll get there in a moment. Okay, so I always like to thank Dan Broughton for supporting this. Anyway, if you go out in the evening, and I don't guess you can't miss it, there's a big bright star in the sky there, okay? Well, that's not a star at all, that's actually the planet Venus. And Venus is a planet similar in size to the Earth, but it's closer to the sun than the Earth is. So we only ever see Venus just after sunset, when we call it the evening star, and in dawn when we call it the morning star. But it is indeed a curious world. There's lots of evidence that once upon a time it had an environment very similar to that of the Earth, but now it's turned into an absolute hellhole. You know, it's an inferno. But there is also some evidence that there may be some evidence of life still surviving in its cloud cover, and we talked a little bit about that last program. So that's Venus, and as it gets darker, you'll see another bright star up there. Again, not a star, the planet Jupiter. Now, Jupiter is the biggest planet in the solar system. In fact, it's bigger than all the other planets put together. In fact, if you were to place Venus or the Earth, for those of you watching this on TV, it would appear to be about the size of the red spot next to Jupiter. Well, Jupiter's not as bright as Venus because it's considerably further away out there, but it's certainly brighter than any normal star, that you can't pick it. So there you are, there's those two planets there. And also at the moment, if it was clear tonight, which it's not at the moment because of all the rain here, you'd see a crescent moon quite close to Venus. Right? Again, just like the moon, Venus shows phases, again, for much the same reason. You're seeing that part of which is illuminated or daytime. And our moon's actually quite a spectacular object when you look at it through the telescope. And I can always imagine what it must have been like for the very first people who actually peered through and looked at the moon through a telescope to see all these craters and so on, to see actually another world there. And of course its view changes all the time. The best part to look is what we call the terminator, is near between night and day. That's when you see all the shadows. But anyway, the moon of course will be moving from night to night. That's where it is tonight, but by the following night it'll moved on from there. Now looking at our dark sky, between the two, Jupiter and Venus, there is another brightish star. Nowhere near as bright as Jupiter or Venus, but like one of the bright stars in the sky. That again is another planet. This is the planet Saturn, which when you look through a telescope appears almost unreal. It too, like Jupiter, is a similar type of planet. It's a giant, and the rings appear to be the debris of a moon that got too close to it, or two moons that have collided. Saturn has well over 60 moons compared to our one, and similar to Jupiter. So we've got this beautiful lineup of planets that we can see there at the moment in our sky. But they're not the only ones. There are other planets there, including Pluto. But of course these planets cannot be seen without a telescope. Now, as we know, planets always move around the same part of the sky, and that's because they're orbiting around the equator of the sun, and the path that they move along we call the zodiac. That's the constellations of the zodiac, and that's why it's important you find the sun, the moon and the planets all move through the signs of the zodiac. So what signs of the zodiac are they in at the moment? Well, we'll just bring that up. For those of you watching this on TV, you can see that now, that Venus is in Sagittarius, Jupiter is in Aquarius, and also, in fact, what we've also got there is Saturn, but it's also No, sorry, it's not, I got that wrong for you. Saturn is in Sagittarius. Saturn is in Capricorn, and while it might look as if Jupiter's in Aquarius, it's actually just close to the border. It's still in Capricorn. So both those two planets, Saturn and Jupiter, are in Capricorn at the moment. And for those of you watching on TV, you can see this band of star signs running down there, and you'll always find the planets or the moon somewhere amongst this row of planets. And you've got 12 signs of the zodiac, because there are 12 months in a year. That's where the word month comes from. It's a month. Each moon moves, full moon moves from one sign to another each month, as does the sun. Now, looking up in the evening, this is the very early evening. As soon as it begins to get dark, the most noticeable thing, apart from the bright planets there, is the Great Square. And winding around the Great Square is, of course, the two fishes of Pisces and so on. So that's a Great Square in the sky, and that stands almost absolutely due north. And just down to the bottom right, just below the Great Square, is a hazy patch of light which can only be seen on a really dark night. And this, of course, is the great galaxy in Andromeda. Now, this is really what our galaxy would look like. It's over 2 million light years away. In other words, when you look at this object, you're seeing it as it was 2 million years ago, right? And it is a galaxy similar to our own Milky Way galaxy, containing literally hundreds of millions of stars. And of course, out in that great galaxy out there may also be planets similar to the Earth, maybe with intelligent beings there. But of course, if they were looking with giant telescopes and they had technology much greater than ours, and they could look back towards our Milky Way galaxy and actually pick up our star, and even if they could see the Earth, of course, they wouldn't see us, because they'd be seeing the Earth as it was 2 million years ago. All right, so yeah, we weren't up to much at that particular time. So that's the great Andromeda galaxy, and it is the most distant thing that can be seen with the unaided eye. But you do need a nice dark sky to be able to see these things. The other object you can see in the very early evening, just out in the northeast, on the tail of the bull, actually, in Taurus the bull, is this cluster of stars. Of course, it's a very famous cluster. This, of course, is Matariki, also known as the Pleiades star cluster, which is very, very important for the cultural reasons here in New Zealand. But in physical terms, it's a cluster of newly formed stars. It's actually about 400 or 500 stars there, but what we notice is the 7 brighter ones, which are called the 7 sisters up there. And surrounding them is dust and gas, and it's simply that they're passing through a nebula, and the bright stars, which are much bigger and hotter than our sun, I'm talking about, over 1,000 times brighter than our sun, are simply reflecting the blue light of those stars. So that's the 7 sisters you can see rising up there. Okay. Anyway, at this point we'll have a little break, and we're going to be doing a little bit of music called Walking on Air, and we've got some beautiful pictures taking you through around our Earth, looking at our own planet.
What's happening?
It's not working.
How do you open this file?
So just need to click that.
What are we doing?
Go ahead.